up? This is Backyard Builds, and today we're going to be working on the 1600. What's up, YouTube? This is Backyard Builds, and today we are going to be working on the 1600 right around here. I hope this video doesn't make you motion sickness. I'm filming with my arm. And while I'm working with 1600, I got this Miata for $1,000 that is kind of beat, but it'll get me around. And I'm here working with my cousin, Trent. And today we're going to be accomplishing this, which is a front Ireland Engineering Flair for the 1600 or 2002. And we're going to be doing it to the driver's side fender. And we will be showing you kind of just a quick video on how to do it as we go about it. And we are amateurs, so it'll probably be an interesting method that you've never seen before. Also, on the next video, we'll probably be working on cleaning up this wiring and getting it ready for paint. It was already blasted, but we want to get the wiring out of the way so when it gets primered, it will be pretty easy for them and not cause the shop a lot of hassle. So that is just a little introduction to what we'll be doing today. So first thing you want to do here is find where you want the fender placed. You want the lip of the bottom of the fender flare to be kind of in the lip of the stock fender. You want that pretty tight, and you want to find a place where it's not too low and it's not going to be lower than what the stock fender would have been, stock fender lip, and you don't want it too high that it looks weird. It's really up to your preference. Since we already have the passenger side done, we're just going to take measurements from over here and somewhere in here, and we will make this side match this side's placement, and then we'll draw a line around the outside of it, and then we'll measure 1 inch in and draw another line, and then from there we'll cut about that inch in line inside, and that'll give us our inner fender. So we're going to go ahead and take some measurements and start cutting, and then we'll meet up again and you guys will run down on what went down. Alright, so now that we did the inner line, that's an inch inside of the outside line, we will begin to cut it, and that should cut off this inner lip here where the fender flare will cover up, and that should give us room for bigger tires or wheels or whatever we choose down the road to go with M20 swap. So yes. So, you've seen us struggling a lot with this grinder. That's because when this grinder went on, well, when I decided to pick up a grinder, I was like, oh, I'll get the cheapest die grinder they sell, it'll be great. And it turned out to be the worst choice ever. It likes to stop working a lot, but it's what we were dealing with because I'm on a budget. But after you finish making your cut, hopefully it goes faster than mine, you will be left with this piece that you probably scrap. And then this is what you'll be left with is a fender. This is what you'll be left with is a fender. And so now we'll get our Flair in here and we'll see how it fits and just kind of check it out a little bit. See what we think. Maybe cut a little too far down in here. But you live and you learn, and that's okay. I'm not too afraid because I'm getting a Ireland Engineering balance that'll come up against this and you won't ever see it. It'll actually come up to about here. So really no big deal. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure out these lines so we know where to drill the holes for the bolts. And bolts won't always hold these flares on. Eventually I'm going to put on rivets, but that'll be after the paint because I want them to be able to paint under the flares and take the flares off to paint them. But for now they'll be held on with bolts, and then down the road we will change them over to rivets and go from there. So we are going to measure and start drilling some holes, and then we'll catch up with you again. So what you're going to see him doing here is he's measuring the holes for the two bottom bolts first. And that can sometimes bite you in the end because then your spacing will be off. But since we did this before, we know what our spacing is and that it won't mess us up. But since we're doing the two bottom bolts first, that'll allow us to not have to hold the fender in place, and we'll be able to go around and mark the rest of the spots to drill without the fender moving all over the place. So it can be beneficial. So in the end, you should end up with something similar to this, which means we now have two matching fenders. Like I said before, I cut a little low down here, but it doesn't matter. When I get the front balance, it'll cover that up. And now we should be ready to get some bigger wheels and tires under here. Hopefully not too big. And then hopefully the next video will be getting the wiring out of the engine bay and getting ready for primer. And then when it comes back from there, we will be getting it on the ground, some wheels on it, and getting ready to finish up the motor swap and going from there. I'll catch you later.